Hey guys, it's Mohammed. Thanks for listening to our newest episodes of Plays, Ks, and Fadeaways. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and press that notifications bell to get notified for new episodes. Also, please follow us on SoundCloud at Clutch Factor Sports. Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Plays, Ks, and Fadeaways podcast. I am Hasham Kahlon. Alongside with me, I have three friends today, not as many as we did last week, but we still have returning members. We'll start. David, talk to us what's going on. David Nunez.
What's going on, ladies and gents? Big draft for the Giants. Can't be upset. A lot of improvements. A lot of misses, in my opinion, with certain draft picks in certain positions. But all in all, I'm not upset. Just can't wait for football season to start.
All right, Cinquay Mills. Cinquay, talk to us, buddy. What's going on?
Got a franchise QB, so, it's litty in the 305 right now.
All right, that's Cinquay. And we have I wouldn't say a returning member. He's making his debut today. Mohammed Shahid. Disclaimer, he's a Packers fan.
Everybody be nice to him.
A very salty Packers fan. Mo, talk to us. What's going on, man?
Yeah, what's going on? My name is Mohammed Shahid. I'm a huge Lakers and Packers fan, and man, that last Thursday was rough for me, man. That's all I gotta say.
Plug in your social media. Anything else that you didn't get a chance to do because you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Demahom30. That's DEMMAHOM30 on Instagram. So yeah, follow me, and then you'll hear some awesome takes about the Packers.
For those of you that didn't understand, that's Muhammad backwards.
Yeah, hey, true.
That's what it is?
Yeah, bro.
But I'm not going to hold you. I just realized that right now.
As soon as you said that, I was like, all right, that's dope. But before we get into our episode, once again, we hope everyone that is out there social distancing, doing everything they need to do, taking all the necessary precautions to fight this virus, not only for themselves but for others. Let's keep flattening the curve and doing our part as a society to fight this virus.
Yeah, facts, bro. I'm tired of being in this house, man.
Yeah, we all want to go outside, so let's keep doing what we do. But this is our post NFL draft episode, so we have all of our teams here. We're gonna talk about them, but we are gonna play something called the 3-word game. Credit goes to Colin Coward. I know we're taking all your viewers. I know we have such a big following already, but all credit goes. Credit goes to you. But without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's not waste time. Last time our NFL draft episode, it went over 2 hours. We're trying to keep it, anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half. Quality over quantity. We could sit here and talk for hours, but
Exactly.
we're trying to build a little platform and foundation where we have a set time and we do things like that.
Bear with us. We're new to this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so we will start with the AFC North, the American Football Conference, AFC North. I'll start off Cincinnati Bengals. My 3 words: home sweet home. That is because they drafted the hometown kid from Ohio, Joe Burrow. That's what their offseason was all about. They have their guy. They have receivers. They have running backs. They're building something there. Obviously, they're not going to win right away. They still need time. They're ushering in a new era with Zach Taylor. But Jared Goff did his thing under Zach Taylor. He's now coaching Joe Burrow, so we'll see how the Bengals do. And, home sweet home. That's my word for them. David, we'll move on to you. What are your 3 words for the Bengals?
Future Super Bowl champs.
Oh, my God.
That's 4.
Super Bowl's hyphenated. No, but all in seriousness, finally, you got your franchise quarterback where you feel like you can actually build off of. Andy Dalton had his time. Didn't do much. Granted, he never had a really good head coach, but at the same time, he had the pieces around him. He had a good offense. He had A.J. Green for his entire career. He had a couple good first round to second round running backs. You had Joe Mixon for the last couple of years. You had Jeremy Hill. Granted, the latter half of his career wasn't that great, but in the beginning, he was a stud. So, you know what? You're finally building something with a somewhat winning atmosphere and a winning culture. So, let's see how they develop.
All right, Cinquay.
I'm going to have to go with great 3 rounds. The first 3 rounds, I think that they nailed. And I feel like that's how you really set a tone in a draft. If you don't start off hot, but you finish hot, I feel like it's not the same as starting off hot and keeping that same thing throughout. They drafted with the first overall pick, of course, Joseph Lee Burrow. That guy, he's going to get to the bag. He's going to hopefully bring them a chip. I mean, I don't think so because, Cincinnati does Cincinnati things. But maybe he'll change that culture. Then they got the beautiful guy named T. Higgins, So good that I bet on it, and I did bet on it. Lovely things, of course. But I like T. Higgins because he's going to be your A.J. Green replacement. A.J. Green, as we know, is 32 years old, on the franchise tag, and injury prone. So I feel like that now you have all the reins in the world to just let A.J. Green go and try to usher in a new era of Bengals. I almost said Dolphins. Bengals football. And then I like the Logan. I can't remember his last name. The kid from Wyoming, Logan Wilson, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is Nick Vigil got his behind spun out of his shoes by Lamar Jackson. He actually spun him back to his childhood years. So Logan Wilson is a pretty good tackler. He's a sideline to sideline type of guy, and I feel like they needed that in their linebacking core, and I think that he'll pair up really good with Jermaine Pratt, the kid that they drafted last year.
Actually, now that you say linebacking core, they also drafted Marcus Bailey in the 7th round, who I'm surprised fell that low.
What was it? Akeem
Davis Gaithier.
Yeah, that kid's also.
So on this, their linebacking core is good for the.
Yeah, because if you looked at it from last year, their linebacking core was horrible.
Oh, extremely, and they have a good formation to build off of, especially in that linebacking core. I feel like they still do need help in the secondary, but obviously you could fix that over time. Let's just see how they work though.
Yeah, it doesn't help them. They play in a really tough division now, a really tough division where Joe Burrow is going to have to face tough defenses throughout the year. But they are building some things, which is better than what they've had. Obviously, they made the playoffs for years and never won a playoff game. So we'll see how that changes. We'll end with Mo. Mo, what are your 3 words for the Bengals and why?
I got the 3 words being culture changing draft. I think anytime you draft a franchise quarterback, the guy you think, was going to be there for the long term, and to change the culture, I think you automatically get an A for that. They drafted T. Higgins. I think he's a great receiver, like Quay said, to replace AJ Green eventually, but they have a bunch of weapons as there are. I think the only issue for the Bengals mainly is going to be the offensive line. They didn't really address it. They drafted a tackle, Hakeem Hadenji, in the 6th round.
But don't forget, they're getting Jonah back.
Right, they are getting Jonah Williams back for sure.
So technically, if Jonah's like another rookie.
Absolutely. But the thing is also they were ranked number 30 according to PFF in terms of offensive linemen, so they do have a long way to go. But again, this is a culture-changing draft.
Horrible.
Yeah,
the only real players you have on that team as offensive lineman to build, I would say, is Billy Price and
Jonah Williams.
Jonah Williams. Yeah,
trash.
For sure. So yeah, this is the draft they needed to basically change their culture and bring in a winning quarterback.
At the same time, I had that thought in the back of my mind too that Jonah Williams missed his entire rookie year. We really haven't seen him play since his last year in college.
Right.
So we don't really know what he's going to be. We all have that high expectation on him that he's going to be that top 3 offensive lineman that he was going to his draft. So at the same time, we've seen in the past how linemen don't really live up to those expectations.
Like Garrett Bowles.
Garrett Bowles, perfect example. Another example, Eric Flowers, who coming into the draft was considered to be the best offensive tackle, and he had to go through 4 different teams to finally figure out his NFL position at being at guard. So you just got to see how he plays past the preseason.
Yeah, Mo brings up a great point about the culture change when you do draft a QB like that. It ushers in a whole new era, brings in a whole new excitement for the fans. That moves us on to the next team in the AFC North, Pittsburgh Steelers. And my 3 words have to do with their franchise QB. My 3 words are Big Ben's elbow. I think the future of their franchise rides on his elbow, because if his injury is as serious as it was last year and you don't have a backup plan, because we all saw what Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges did last year. It did not work at all. I think they were maybe scoring a touchdown a game. And the defense was carrying them to wins, and that ran out towards the end of the year. But there were rumblings maybe they would draft a QB this year to sit behind Big Ben now. They obviously didn't. Next year's QB class again, I don't think they're going to be bad enough to be able to pick in that range. Will they get their QB? They're a franchise I've always been high on because of their coaching and management. But now, you don't have Le'Veon Bell anymore. You don't have Antonio Brown anymore. Big Ben, I think he has max 2 to 3 years left. He's getting up there in age. So I think Big Ben's elbow is a big deteriorator for them, especially this season. So I think everything for their franchise as of right now rides on his health. And David, what are your words for the Steelers?
So my 3 words for the Steelers are we ready? Like you said, Big Ben's elbow is a big question. Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph, career backups at this point. we also do have to keep in mind that Ben Roethlisberger is entering his 36-8 season, 37-8 season,
I think it's 38.
38. So exactly.
I'm not sure
Listen,
though, but I think he's 38.
Listen, he doesn't have Bill Belichick coaching him and having that great offensive line protecting him, and as far as giving him 6-7 yard slant passes down the road. Big Ben's a gunslinger, so at the same time, his offense around him is not that great. I'm still not sold on Juju Smith-Schuster. He had a great rookie year. Excuse me. He had a great rookie year, but at the same time, look what he did last year as a true number one. Granted, he didn't have a quarterback, but at the same time, if he was supposed to be that playmaker, how is he supposed to fit in that offense? I can't complain about their defense. Their defense is set. Their defense is, in my opinion, a top 8, top 10 defense. So it all depends on how that offense clicks together. James Conner had a very unproductive year last year, battled with a lot of injuries. Screwed me over in fantasy, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But we just gotta see what the future holds for them.
Cinquay, as somebody who's a Dolphins fan, you guys traded Minka Fitzpatrick for a first-round pick the Steelers didn't have this year. So what are your thoughts on the Steelers, the 3 words, and why?
We need money. Yo, they have no money. Earlier, as y'all know, I did a Steelers rebuild in Madden, and their cap is so bad. Yo, they're lined up with just horrible contracts all around. You had Vince Williams getting paid way too much money. You had Mark Barron getting paid way too much money. You have Ben Roethlisberger with half an elbow getting a cap hit of like $35 million.
Mm-hmm.
They need money. They have too many holes to win the division, in my opinion. I feel like they're in the worst spot. They're in like one of the worst spots as teams in the NFL. They're old.
They currently have 1.4 mil in cap space.
They're old. They have no money. Players need to get signed. Minka still needs to get signed. Bud Dupree still needs to get signed, even though I don't think Bud Dupree is as good as he is, even though he did have a breakout, and I would love to see him build on it. But Bud Dupree needs to get signed. TJ Watt needs to get signed. Cameron Hayward needs to get signed. Joe Hayden is also going to need to get signed. Minka Fitzpatrick also, I said before, needs to get signed. Everybody's contracts are running out, and they don't have money. Where are you going to get this money from? Unless Ben Roethlisberger is going to play for $2 a bag of fries,
an hour,
and a bent nickel. Like, there's nothing that y'all need to get money. They have no money. They're in a bad situation. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs are in a fine situation. They don't have money, but they won. So it doesn't really matter.
Right.
No, stop it. Their QB isn't making any money right now.
Exactly.
He's making what,
And
$5
to be honest,
$5
that's how
million
you
a year?
win. When
That's the
QB
value
doesn't make
of
money,
rookie quarterback.
and you can build up the rest of your team, bro. To me, they need a halfback. James Conner showed this year that people got tape on him. They got tape on him.
He's a situational back.
Exactly. They got tape on him. It was done up. Juju, they got tape on him. Now, as a number one, now he's getting locked down. Vance McDonald is not it, Chief. Sorry to tell you. Eric Ebron's solid, of course. There's a lot of things about the Steelers. Like, they just need money. I think like money is their number one aspect, and they need to clear as much cap space as possible, getting rid of all those bad contracts.
All right, and before we move on, Almar Garcia, welcome. How you doing, buddy?
We're doing all right. How's everyone doing right now?
Good.
All right. But back to the point. But with the Steelers, we talked about this earlier in the group chat. The Steelers really are in the worst spot because you see a lot of Super Bowl winning teams. A lot of their QBs aren't making that much money. Meanwhile, Big Ben is getting paid what? Quay said $35 million.
A lot. He's making a lot. He's making a lot. Just put it that way.
They don't have a QB that they're going to just plug in and play after he retires. The defense is going to need to get paid. So again, I think not getting a QB this year hurt them because again, they're never going to be that bad for me to the point where they're going to have like a top 5 pick and they're going to just draft a QB that's going to take over the franchise.
In my opinion, they were a sleeper to get Jake Fromm. Like, I'm surprised they let Jake Fromm fall. Where did he fall? 4th round? Middle of the 4th?
Yeah, to the Bills.
Yeah, I'm surprised they let him fall that far. Like, he's a perfect quarterback for that system. He a big arm? No, but at the same time, he's a playmaker. He's
better than Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges. I'll tell you that much.
Don't tell Hasham that because he might disagree, but that's a different story.
I'm quiet on Jake Fromm. I'm not going to say a word.
For those of you who don't know, Hasham absolutely hates Jake Fromm just for the sole fact that he beat out Justin Fields for the starting quarterback position.
You
at
say
Georgia.
that as if I'm a Georgia fan. I'm not.
He's a college football fan. He doesn't have a true college
Yeah,
football
exactly. But back to the Steelers, like Quay said. I mean, I like Dan said earlier. Big Ben is not one of these QBs that's just get the ball out of his hand quick. He takes hits. He's getting up there in age. So Steelers again in a tough spot. Mo, what are your thoughts on the Steelers? Your 3 words and why?
I think it's going to be similar to what you said, Hasham. It's pending Big Ben. So like you guys mentioned, the cap space, he's had a 24 million hit this year, and then a 41 million hit next year. So they have him for at least the next 2 years, for sure. So it's really dependent on his elbow. In terms of what they did in the draft, I mean, they got Chase Claypool.
I think that was a reach.
I thought that was a reach myself. I mean, he has a high RAS score, and what that is basically like a combination of all your athletic traits put together. And he's like an athletic freak, but a lot of people say that he doesn't play up to his 40 time. So I think that's a reach. They didn't do much.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. His 40 time was
like
4.5, right?
4.42.
4.42.
Like his game speed and running a 40 speed is 2 different things.
Yeah, it's like straight line speed.
Doesn't matter if you can't break away from your tacklers.
Right.
So
the knock on him was he wins with physicality, not separation. So that's like a big thing in the NFL, So I mean, for me, it's pending Big Ben, and like Quay also mentioned, they have a lot of contracts coming up. They have to sign Stephon Tuitt. They got to sign T.J. Watt. Those are 2 big contracts. They want that dominant defensive line. To be honest,
they already had to let Hargrave go, and they have no replacement for him.
Exactly, and I mean, it doesn't really make sense that I never thought the Minka trade made sense for them, even though it did change their defense because they really needed this first round pick to try to go get a QB. To be honest. But,
especially,
so what you would have thought that they would have had to have gone out and get like Jordan Love?
I honestly would have won with that. I think that would have been like the perfect place for him. The Steelers are a great franchise. I respect the hell out of the Steelers. I think they built well.
I can get behind that. But
Yeah,
too bad.
sure.
They gave it to us and we got Austin Jackson. So
Yeah.
that sucks to suck.
I mean, but are you really sold on Austin Jackson though? That's the whole thing. Austin Jackson, I felt like was a big reach.
That was a reach because we needed an offensive tackle.
We'll get to that.
Looking at where you guys fell, we had a lot of options over there, but obviously we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to the Dolphins. But he brings up. I think Mo brings up the perfect point with the Minka Fitzpatrick trade. That was a trade you made to be in win now mode, which didn't make sense because your QB was hurt.
Yeah, y'all didn't even win now. Bro, they made the trade. They made the trade on like week 4. Big Ben was out week 2.
Exactly. So again,
and they knew it was wraps.
If Big Ben is healthy, that trade makes sense to me because obviously he changes the dynamic.
Then he changes the face of that defense. If
Right.
Big Ben is healthy, they went 8-8 this year. They
could have. Yeah, I was about to say honestly, and I feel like it was more of a quote unquote next year move for them because listen, we saw what Minka Fitzpatrick did in the Steelers uniform. Minka Fitzpatrick
that is
played
true, but
to a defensive player of the year standard. So
yeah, not for sure. Minka coming out of what's
Alabama,
his school he go to?
I believe it's Alabama.
Oh, he did go to Bama, right? I'm bugging.
St. Peter's Prep, shout out Jersey.
Yeah, fact, Jersey boys, you already know. But Minka coming out like was fire. Like I wanted Minka so bad, but I never thought he would drop to us, and then he did. Oh, I was happy. But
one last thing I wanted to mention: Chase Claypool needs to take an immediate impact if they want to be contenders and they want to make a playoffs because their number 1 receiver right now is Juju, and right after that is James Washington.
James Washington, who's
another
bum.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Now I'm not gonna hold you. Deontay Rocket Johnson, he's actually very tough.
He's very, very, very
He's
fast.
gonna need to
at the
take a
same
step
time,
too.
I feel that's his only real positive on his offense.
No, but the thing is, I like how he plays on returns as a return specialist.
Yeah. That might be
his role moving on.
I don't see him
I like him to play in the slot.
Yeah, but that's not a reliable number 2.
They're talking about putting Claypool in the slot. I don't understand. He's like 6. He's like 6'9".
He's too tall.
He's outside the guy's number. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
He's like 6'9", 6'10". Like,
well, I mean, wasn't Claypool's NFL comparison Mike Evans just for the fact that his height and
his athletic stature, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think he's gonna play near Mike Evans.
Nah, listen.
Mike Evans is another animal. Yo. Mike Evans is another beast.
I want to get to Almar here before we move on to the next team. Almar, Steelers, 3 words, and why?
Keep Big Ben healthy. That's basically their entire season revolves around a 30+35. How old is
38?
38.
Let me just.
Yeah, check that and make sure.
I did confirm it. It is 38. He's 38.
Okay, so your entire season revolves around a 38-year-old quarterback being very healthy, coming off elbow surgery. That is not necessarily the recipe for success for the coming year, because you don't know how much you have left in like Big Ben's arm. You don't know how much the elbow surgery took away from his arm, if it took away anything at all. You don't know. And age is not really in his favor. And the way Big Ben plays quarterback, he doesn't really use he's not the typical veteran quarterback that just goes off his smarts and his football IQ. He throws around his body as if he's 25. So his style of play is just not, sustainable at his stage of his career. So Big Ben healthy. That's my 3 words.
Yeah, what you said went right in line with what me and Mo said. I think 3 of us had similar 3 words. That moves us on to the AFC the number 1 seed from the AFC last year. Baltimore Ravens, of course, had a great draft. My 3 words for them is simple: outside the numbers. I think they have a great team, personnel-wise. You have a great head coach. Your GM is doing his thing, Eric DaCosta. But I think Lamar Jackson, the way they will take that next step and become a Super Bowl maybe favorite is if he can throw outside the numbers. Obviously, they're not doing him any favors, not getting him any help. I think right now his number 1 is Marquise Brown. His number 2 is Willie Snead.
Yeah, well, maybe going into the next season because
exactly.
they draft Duvernay.
Exactly. So I think, they were a team that bullied a lot of people last year with the run game. In the first round of the playoffs, they met a team that matched their run game behind early, and they had to play from behind. And we all know when you play from behind, you need to throw the ball.
Right.
And Lamar Jackson felt the pressure. And again, he had a great jump from his rookie year to his next year. But throwing the middle of the field to tight ends, to Mark Andrews, and throwing outside the numbers and making plays down the field is different. So I just think if he improves and takes that next step to becoming even a better passer and throwing outside the numbers, I think they match up right perfectly with the Chiefs in the AFC.
Right.
Quay's background cracking me a little bit. But I definitely think outside the numbers is a good 3 words to describe the Ravens. David, what are your thoughts?
My 3 words for them are over the hump. I do feel like they had the smartest draft out of all the teams. Their run game only got better. They drafted J.K. Dobbins, who's an absolute burner. They got another linebacker, help Patrick Queen, who I'm surprised fell to them that low. Devin Duvernay is another speed burner that you could play either on the slot or on the outside, move Willie Snead to the slot. They also got James Prochet, who's another very underrated wide receiver. It all depends on just how they put it together. We saw what they did last year just based off the run game. Now, in my opinion, I was never big on Willie Snead. Even when he was in New Orleans, he didn't really show much. So now they have, in my opinion, a decent wide receiver core. You got Marquise Brown, who's very electrifying. He's very fun to watch. He's basically a human highlight reel. You got Devin Duvernay, where you want to either play him inside the numbers, outside the numbers. Depends on however you want to run it. Very good value pick for where they got him. You saw what they did with their tight ends. Mark Andrews absolutely went off last year. They still have Hayden Hurst. Or did they trade him?
Falcons.
They traded. Who's their other?
Nick Boyle.
Nick Boyle. There you go. Who? Not only is he good at blocking, he's also
Nick Boyle's not that bad.
Yeah, you could use him literally in that fullback tight end kind of role. So it all depends on how you basically just develop your team after this. So over the hump are my 3 words for them.
All right, Cinquay, your 3 words and why?
Run the ball. That's it. It's just that simple. You drafted J.K. Dobbins, run the ball. You have not Mark Andrews, wrong Mark. Mark Ingram, run the ball. You got Gus Edwards, run the ball. Mark Ingram last year, 1,000-yard back. Amazing. He played great. Lamar Jackson last year, 1,000-yard rusher. Very simple. You have
another 1,000-yard back.
I was about to say 1,000-yard back. But Gus Edwards led the league in yards per carry last year. So it shows that their offense was very lethal in the run game. Now, obviously, run-heavy teams do not win. But if I ever seen a run-heavy team win, it would definitely be these guys.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially because their quarterback is so dynamic. Mohammed, your 3 words and why?
For me, the Ravens, I felt like had the most secure draft. I love their pick with Patrick Queen. He was probably one of my favorite picks as well. I think he's like a sideline to sideline type of linebacker. And then they also brought in J.K. Dobbins. And like Quay mentioned, I think they need to just keep pounding the rock. They have running backs, Mark Ingram, Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, I meant J.K. Dobbins. And then they have the QB, Lamar Jackson, who is like a hybrid kind of, running back, quarterback. So I think, listen,
dynamic QB right now.
probably, yes, easily. I will probably with Mahomes. But yeah, I think they had a really good draft. It's probably a secure draft. They also drafted Duvernay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was one of the guys I wanted the Packers to go get. He's a really good with the yards after catch, and he's a burner.
He's very solid in the slot.
Right, exactly. So I think he's going to have a lot of success for them. So most secure draft in my opinion.
All right, we'll finish with Almar. Almar, Ravens, 3 words and why.
All right, for the Ravens to take the next step, they need another Lamar Jackson evolution. Those are my 3 words, a Lamar Jackson evolution. To go back to what Hasham said, he needs to learn how to throw outside the numbers. Once Lamar Jackson figures out how to throw outside the numbers with the upgrades that they've made in the slot, I don't see how they can be stopped. Especially once you give the Baltimore Ravens the lead.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Obviously, to mention again, when they went behind in the playoffs last year, they had to play from behind, throw the ball. They kind of struggled. So again, if Lamar takes that next step, it's hard to see somebody stopping him.
I have to point out a big loss for them, which they did address in the draft, was Marshall Yanda retiring, and they did go and draft Tyre Phillips in the 3rd round and Ben Bredesen in the 4th round to shore up the offensive line. That was a strength, but losing Marshall Yanda, who was always solid and dependable for Baltimore for years, that was a big loss that they did address in the draft.
They had 4 third-round picks. That was really good for them. They got a lot of depth.
Yeah,
I feel like though the only reason that I feel like Marshall Yanda retiring really doesn't affect them is the fact of that their tackles are so elite. Orlando Brown and Ronnie Stanley.
No, but I'm saying that they even replenished the tackle and guard spot, so they're even going to be stronger.
Yeah, and then you also have Matt Skura, who was top 3 in Pro Bowl voting last year. And even though Pro Bowl voting doesn't mean anything, but like Matt Skura was very solid, very, very solid last year.
That's what great GMs do. That brings us to our last team in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns, who've been the laughing stock of the league for years now. My 3 words for them are simple. No more excuses. Last year it was, it's Freddie Kitchens. It's the offensive line. I'm a Baker Mayfield guy. Obviously he didn't play well last year, but now you got Jack Conklin. You got the kid from Alabama. You have another tight end and Austin Hooper. You have Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, a new coach who's proven to run a good offensive system. You're getting Myles Garrett back. Obviously your division is tough, but at some point you need to go out and start winning games. So it's simple for me. No more excuses for the Browns. David, what about you?
Put it together. Realistically, like you said, there's no more excuses for this team. You have the talent. Your offense at this point should be shored up. You signed Jack Conklin. You drafted Jedrick Wills. You got you had a decent blocking tight end in Njoku. Now you got Austin Hooper to basically shore up the rest of that line. You have 2 dynamic backs in Chubb and Hunt. Honestly, you can't really complain about the wide receiver core, the fact they really don't have a slot receiver, unless you're playing Jarvis Landry or Odell in the slot. But it's just they basically hit on almost everything that they had. They drafted Delpit just to draft him, I feel, just because he fell to them, because they didn't really need him. But at the same time, if you want to use him as a depth piece, you want to use him to shore up that secondary, whatever you want to do. You have the pieces, you have the talent, you got the team. Just put everything together and win football games.
All right, Cinquay, Cleveland Browns, 3 words and why.
Make the playoffs. If you don't make the playoffs, everything you've done is a waste of time. Y'all literally went out there, signed Jack Conklin, then got Jedrick Wills, who, in my opinion, was the best offensive tackle in this draft, personally. You got Grant Delpit, who they call Baby Jamal. And we know about Jamal. If he's even half the player Jamal is, that's a solid pickup. You got Greedy Williams. When he played last year, very solid. Denzel Ward, when he plays, very solid. The only part about them,
he's a top 10 back. Honestly, his rookie year just surprised everybody. So Denzel Ward.
Oh yeah, Denzel Ward. Was not supposed to pop out. I didn't even know who he was when he got drafted.
Denzel Ward wasn't supposed to be a top 4 pick.
Well, he definitely lived up to that hype.
Exactly.
And you have a two-headed monster in Nicholas Chubb, Georgia gang, and Kareem Hunt. Like, you have a lethal weapon. And there's literally no part of that team besides the linebackers that I could genuinely say y'all need to up. Y'all went out, got Sheldon Richardson, which I didn't even know y'all wanted to get for any reason. Y'all got him. You got the beast, Larry Ogunjobi. You have Myles Garrett, of course. And even last year, in the 5th round, they got Mac Wilson from Bama. Mac Wilson is solid. The only problem with them is that they have Sion Taki, who I do not think is that good. But if he even steps up a little bit, that team literally all throughout might be the most balanced team on paper. You have a lethal offense. You have a lethal defense. If your linebackers could just step up and play the way they play, there's no way the Browns do not go like 12.
I mean, to add to your point, they did draft Jacob Phillips out of LSU. It was a good value pick for where they got him. He's not going to make an immediate impact on the team, but down the road, he can be a solid third down linebacker, solid rush linebacker. So it does help them.
They just got to make sure they can, like, per English that they can cover the loss of Joe Schobert correctly.
Yeah. At the same time, the only real loss that they've got from him is just his run stopping, because he really couldn't stop the pass all that well. So
Joe Schobert is like a better Blake Martinez. He's just going to tackle
literally
the living hell out of the league. Like, he's going to have 160, 170 tackles accordingly.
Yeah. Mo, Browns 3 words and why?
I had all holes filled. I think they had a really solid draft. Listen, in free agency they got Jack Conklin, and to just shore the other side of the lineup, the other tackle they got is Jedrick Willis, who a lot of people had as, like Hoy said, the best tackle in the draft. His athleticism jumps out the board. And then day 2, I like that they got Grant Delpit. I think he's like a ball hawk. He's not he really fell was because of, like, his tackling. He has, like, a huge tackling issue. But in coverage, he's really good. And then I think honestly my personal favorite pick from round 3 was Jordan Elliott. He's an insane pass rusher. He's also a really good run defender. So, and they got him in the 3rd round. So I think they really did well in the first 3 rounds. Just from that, they get an A for me. So I think they have no excuses next year. All the holes they had are filled. And if they don't win next year, there's a serious problem in Cleveland.
Yep, definitely. Almar, Browns 3 words and why?
All on Baker. Those are my 3 words. If this team doesn't succeed, they're going to put all the blame on Baker, and rightfully so. And like Mo said, all the holes are filled, especially on offense. You have 2 number 1 caliber receivers and two very, very capable running backs, and your offensive line is finally put together. It's going to be all on Baker if this team doesn't succeed.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan, and there's no defending him next year if he comes out and plays the way he did this year. That takes us to the AFC East. We'll start with the Patriots. My 3 words: good luck, Belichick. They drafted. I think they had a horrible draft. I'm not a believer in Jarrett Stidham at all. Again, their division isn't the strongest, but I just think the loss of Brady. You already didn't have weapons last year. You don't have any weapons this year. Your defense was overrated. They played good teams last year. When they did play the good quarterbacks, they got exposed. They couldn't stop Derrick Henry in the playoffs. I think, again, it's hard to doubt the Patriots because of Belichick and all he's done, but we got to remember Brady's not there anymore. So my 3 words for the Patriots are good luck, Belichick. David, your 3 words and why?
Tank for Trevor. Self-explanatory. Jared Stidham, from what he showed us last year, is not NFL ready. Granted, he could take a major step in year 2. I mean, we really didn't see Mahomes at all in year 1, but look what he did in year 2. So it all depends on basically how you build that offense. They went to tight end hell in this draft this year. They drafted Asiasi, drafted Dalton Keene, back-to-back picks. I believe they also signed an undrafted tight end free agent. They also signed quarterback Brian Lewerke. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his last name, but they just honestly, I don't see them having a real foundation right now. They're just a football team at this point. There's no strength. There's a lot of weaknesses, but there's no strength to this team. So there's just, at this point, tank for Trevor.
Yeah, that obviously doesn't make Cinquay happy. He's a Dolphins fan. Cinquay, the Pats offseason, 3 words and why.
No division titles. It's very simple. They're not winning the division this year. I don't care. They're probably going to be better than us, but I don't really care who's better than us at this point because we're still in the midst of a rebuild. Their team's bad. If I really want to go through the whole roster, the team is not good. The team is not good. Obviously, you have stars, you have highlights. Jarrett Stidham to me is garbage. Sorry to tell you. I don't know. That might offend you guys. I don't know. He's trash. Sony Michel, sorry to tell you, he's also trash. James White, I'm gonna be honest with you, he's trash. He's only good. He's only was good because of Tom Brady. I don't care. Julian Edelman, he's solid. I'll give him that. He's very solid. Okay. N'Keal Harry, you don't have Tom Brady leaning on anymore. You barely had Tom Brady lean on your rookie year. Have fun getting passes thrown to you by Jarrett Stidham. Who else? Tight ends, all of them. You can put them all together, put them in a machine together. Guess what? And guess what you come out with? Trash. Thank you. Have a nice day. Yeah. Their O-line is valid, though. They took Joe Tooney back, which gets me very upset. They have Shaq Mason. They have Marcus Cannon. They have David Andrews. Their line is very solid. So Jarrett Stidham, as of kissing grass, he won't be doing so much of that. But he will be kissing turnovers because he will have like 30 of them. Maybe even 40. If you go to their defense, they lost Kyle Van Noy to us. To be honest, he was like their third best defensive player. Like, if we're being all honesty. And I told you I didn't like Calvin. And I still don't like Calvin. Unless he comes out and wins, it goes Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, MVP, all that. I still don't like Calvin. But I'll accept it. And after Stephon Gilmore and Devin McCourty, Calvin is literally their third best player, their best pass rusher. Every year, they've consistently got a great pass rusher and lost him. Every single year. The year before that, it was Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers, they let go to Detroit. They let all these people go and go and go. And now they're gone to the point where they don't really have that much cap room. Their team's really old and stuff like that. I feel like the Patriots are just going to be bad. I'm going to love every second.
Definitely. I agree with that. I'm not sure. It depends. We'll see what Belichick has up his sleeve. Mo, 3 words for the Patriots and why.
All in on Belichick. All in is hyphenated, by the way. I like what they did in the second round. I think Kyle Duggar's an underrated safety pick. He's super athletic. He's explosive. And if you want anybody to coach a guy based on athletic traits, it's Bill Belichick, obviously. Mm-hmm. And they filled up a lot of holes. You know, they drafted 2 edge rushers, drafted 2 tight ends, got some O-linemen. So, listen, they don't have a franchise quarterback right now. The goal of next year is to develop the guys you have and then go get your guy the following year. Hopefully, I don't think they're going to be bad. Listen, you have the greatest coach ever. I think they'll get some wins out. To me, they look like next year's Dolphins. Like how the Dolphins got beat up a little in the beginning of the year. But then they started coming back. They started putting some stuff together. I think that's what they're going to turn out to be. So for me, it's all in on Belichick. Belichick's got to develop the players they have and try to build for the future.
All right. Lastly, Almar, 3 words for the Patriots and why.
No doubt, Belichick. I'm hearing all the obvious holes. I'm hearing all the logical explanations on why the New England Patriots will be a subpar football team next year. But I'm not hearing it. I am tired of doubting Bill Belichick. And I feel like he thrives on this sort of challenge where he has an undermanned roster and he has to rely on his coaching acumen to coach up these players to play beyond their potential. I think they're an 8-8 football team. I really think they're an 8-8 football team. And that all goes down to Bill Belichick. I feel like he thrives on something like this.
Yeah. I think we're seeming to forget that there's still Cam Newton on the open market. So if he's still there in the middle of preseason and it's clear that Stidham or Hoyer really cannot do anything with that offense, don't be surprised if you see Cam Newton in New England. So it's one of the – or listen, Deshaun Watson's option just got picked up and they're trying to work on an extension. But at the same time, you see exactly how that situation in
Cinquay does not want to hear Deshaun Watson in New England in the same sentence. Don't even put that out there for him, please.
Listen, it's a possibility. It's a possibility.
Stop saying that nonsense, yo.
It's a possibility. Listen, I'm telling you.
That the Watson, but just
Aaron Rodgers.
Die, all right?
Aaron Rodgers.
Just die. Like, just end them, please.
Torrey Smith on literally as soon as the first round of the draft ended, Torrey Smith tweeted out saying, "Listen, someone's starting Aaron Rodgers to New England rumor."
Yeah, stop it, bro. What is wrong with you? I'm really getting tired of this people. Yo, them people been stealing championships from all of y'all for years and years. And y'all still
Hey,
want them.
not I.
Not I.
us.
Not I. You're on
All right,
your
I'm getting
you're
tired.
on your own there,
Nah, y'all
buddy.
not see. Y'all
You're on
not
your
like.
own. We have other problems to worry about. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick was not one of them.
All right. If anything, I think if they don't play well this year, I'm not gonna hold it against Belichick. It'll be
Right.
a year, get your quarterback right. But that brings us to the next team in the AFC East, who do have their franchise quarterback now, the Miami Dolphins. And my 3 words are simple: love to start. Love the start of their rebuild. You got your guy. I think getting your QB, like Mo said earlier, when you draft a QB, it changes the dynamic of your franchise. Again, Tua is injury prone. We know. We'll see how that works out. But I think from a pure talent standpoint, he's your guy. You have Austin Jackson to protect him. You have Brian Flores, who's it seems like one of the few coaches from the Belichick tree that
Actually panned out.
has potential panning out. So again, it's simple for the Dolphins. Love to start. Again, I don't think they're going anywhere far this year, but as long as they keep playing competitive football and playing the way they did at the end of last season, you have to be happy with the rebuild. David, your 3 words for the Dolphins and why?
Very solid culture. Brian Flores inherited a team that in the beginning of the season was looking like one of the worst football teams ever. Got absolutely demolished in the first 3-4 weeks of the season. And then as the season went on, they slowly started to put everything together with lackluster talent. Granted, they didn't finish at a high level, play football at a high level, but at the same time, with the team that he had, he played very well. He has a formation, a good, solid formation. You got who you're hoping to be your franchise quarterback. You have I believe they drafted 2 defensive linemen. Yes, Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt in the second round, who Robert Hunt, granted, I feel like was a reach at the time, but he's a good offensive guard. He's a good run blocker. He's a decent pass blocker. He's a solid body you could put at the line. So they have the formation. Can they somehow, some way put everything together down the road? Let's hope so. The defense is solid. So let's see how they go.
Cinquay Dolphins, your favorite team. Your 3 words for their offseason and why?
Protect your guy. That's what we went on and did. We got Tua. We got a lot of players to protect him. Granted, literally all of them are like as raw as possible. Like I'm talking, we got a bunch of raw eggs, and we need to put them in the pan, and we need to scramble them up a little bit. And we got to get them fully cooked so we can make a nice, beautiful sandwich called a Super Bowl. It's called Super Bowl sandwich, right? Austin Jackson, bro. Oh, when I don't know how. Like I don't know. I don't like it. I don't really do because I know nothing about him. I know that he's super raw, but the thing is, he's only 20 years old. So if you want to really mold the guy and bring him and show like your coaching strength, like that, you can really mold the guy into anything you want. Right now, that's the perfect type of guy, and I like his versatility. He's played left tackle at USC. He's also played right tackle. So we know that we need a blindside protector because obviously left-handed quarterbacks, their blind side is your right side. So he has blindside experience and he has right tackle experience. That's why I was so high on Jedrick Wills because, Jedrick Wills is used to playing blindside right. That's why I wanted him so bad as I wanted him. But I feel like we got him. We have Robert Hunt, who I think they said has let up like – oh, no, it was Solomon Kindly, whatever his name is. I think he let up like 9 sacks in like 1,096 pass blocking downs or something like that, which is like a 1.36%. It was something like that. I was reading on it on Twitter. But I feel like we did a good job of getting the people that we needed to get to protect our guy because we all know his injury bill is not pretty. So we need to keep him upright as long as possible so we don't end up drafting a bust. Because as you know, the Dolphins were very in on Drew Brees, and we let him pass because of his shoulder. And I feel like we learned our lesson by just taking Tua, even though because Tua does have everybody's pro comp to Tua is Drew Brees, which is very ironic. But I feel like if we don't keep him upright, then it's a bust.
Definitely. Again, we all know his injury history, so protecting him is a big deal. Mo, your 3 words for the Dolphins and why?
I had healthiness equals success. I think everybody will look back on this draft depending on if Tua is healthy throughout. And I think they did a good job. Now, listen, Austin Jackson is seen as a reach. He was drafted in the 18th pick. I mean, he's athletic. My thing with these like kind of picks, right? It's like you have to be able to coach up this talent. If you believe your coaching staff can bring out the best in these players who have insane athletic traits and just missing some fundamentals, I think those picks are good picks. You just got to trust your coaching staff. They drafted Austin Jackson in the first. They drafted Robert Hunt in the second, who's, by the way, arguably one of the best run blockers from this draft. He had PFF gave him an incredibly high grade. And then they also drafted Solomon Kinley in the fourth round. So listen, healthiness is the most important thing. If Tua can stay healthy, this draft will be an automatic A no matter the rest of the picks.
Definitely. Almar, 3 words for the Dolphins and why.
Don't play Tua under any circumstance. Do not let him see the field at all. Do not play him. It's a rebuilding year. I mean, everyone on the team, like Quay and everyone else said, is very, very raw. So under no circumstance should I see Tua Tagovailoa on the field playing for the Dolphins under any circumstance.
Yeah, even if Ryan Fitzpatrick gets hurt, Josh Rosen's right there. I'm dead serious. Don't play Tua. Like, Tua does not need to
Under
play.
any circumstance.
Like, we need to Mahomes
No.
him. Like, we literally need to like, I don't even want to see you in game 17, 18, whatever, how many games they want to put in this year. I don't want to see you in none of them. Nothing. All I want to see, the only time I want to see you on the field, bye week.
On game day, I need him in street clothes. I need him in some hoodie and some sweats.
Yeah, now they have to healthy inactivate him.
No, I do not need to see him in pads because that just gives me like very, 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 very high anxiety.
Yeah, I know. I understand. Obviously, you want to play him. Like you get the jitters. Like everybody in Miami, like Tua gotta play. No, I'm sorry. The first year, you have to Mahomes him. You have to. I don't even want to see him there handing the ball off. I don't want to see nothing.
I don't even want to see him in victory formation.
If we're winning in a game, I would love for you to bring him in a QB meal. That's great. That's it.
No, I don't even want to see him in victory formation. That's no. Just don't even give people a taste yet. It's not time.
Yeah, his first year should definitely be a redshirt year. That brings us on to the Buffalo Bills. Again, I thought they had a great draft. My 3 words for them are now the favorites. It's obviously being the favorite now is puts you in a new spot. You're gonna get everybody's best shot. They know who you are. They know how you play. I think Buffalo has one of the most underrated coaching staffs in the league. Doug McDermott's his name.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Brilliant head coach. They run the ball. Josh Allen, again, I'm not a huge fan of his passing ability, but he makes plays. He's a playmaker. He could run the ball a little bit. He has a cannon for an arm. His accuracy got better. So, again, they're going to be in a different spot this year, a spot they haven't been in who knows how long. They are going to be the favorites to win the division this year. How that'll all pan out, we'll see. But they're definitely in a different spot compared to where they were past few seasons. David.
Wait, hold on. No cap. I think we said the wrong name. Why do I feel like his name's Steve?
No. I think it's Doug McDermott. Pretty sure.
Like Doug, like the dude that plays on the Pacers.
I think it's Sean McDermott.
Sean.
Yo, so I know it's. I thought about it. I was like, wait, no, his name is definitely not Doug.
Good. Sean McDermott. There you go. Great. Again, brilliant head coach. I think the Bills are going to win the division this year. But we'll see how that pans out. David, your 3 words for the Bills and why?
Now's the time. Like you said, they have a good formation. They finally have a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. They kind of showed up the rushing game by drafting Zach Moss. You also have Devin Singletary, who's not that bad. There's not much to say about their defense other than the fact that it was very shoddy last year. So just got to put everything together and let's see if they can win some football games when it actually counts.
Cinquay, Bills, 3 words, why?
Great defense. Well, great all-around defense. They stole A.J. Epinez. Stole him. They put a mask on. They ran through the draft. Stole him in the second round. How he fell that low, the world may never know. I feel like he's going to be a good heir to the throne once Jerry Hughes is gone, because Jerry Hughes will be gone very soon. But also, I feel like another 3 words you can use is step up, Josh. Yo, you got to step up, kid. It's that time. You're in year 3. Year 3, to me, is your make it or break it year. Your first year was very injury, Nathan Peterman-y. That was just bad all around. Second year, you stepped up a little bit. You got them to the playoffs, but you're still very raw. You're still very erratic. Like, we all know that you can throw a cannon shot. One of the best arms in the league when we're talking distance. My man can throw forever. But we got you. We went out, got you a wide receiver. Dawson Knox is valid. We got you Stephon Diggs with a drafted Stephon Diggs with your first round pick. Now you got to put it all together. You got to show that you're stepping up as a quarterback and show that you can really lead a team forward.
Mo, your 3 words for the Bills and why?
Safe pick wins. Listen, I was on record to say that the Bills have arguably one of the best wide receiver cores. They had AJ Epinesa fall into their lap. He was just right there for them taking. A lot of people had a first-round grade on him. They added Zach Moss, another running back, and then Gabriel Davis, another receiver. They have all the tools they need. Josh Allen just needs to take a slight step, but I think they're all set to compete. I would have them as the 3rd team in the AFC to come out to compete with the Chiefs and the Ravens.
Interesting. Almar, 3 words for the Bills and why?
Now the favorites. They're now the favorites in the AFC East. No more Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, New England, and the Jets and the Dolphins look to be rebuilding as well as New England. So they're now the favorites.
I agree. Yeah.
So we are going on to the last AFC team, the AFC
East.
New York team. Yeah, excuse me, the AFC East team, New York Jets. Hasham, how would you like to start with the Jets? How do you feel? Give
All
me
right.
3 words.
I might be in the minority here with these 3 words. My 3 words are Darnold breaks out. Again, I know they don't have the weapons fully yet, but getting him Mekhi Becton, somebody that could protect him, is going to help a lot. And he has this Brett Favre thing about him where he makes some of the dumbest throws you can imagine, but he also throws a beautiful ball. He improved. He actually improved from his rookie year to his second year, and he has a tendency to play well towards the end of the year. I just think with his talent and another year under Adam Gase, I honestly think he's going to break out this year. I don't think the Jets are going to be a playoff team or anything like that, but I think just for his standards, he's going to have a breakout year. So, David, your 3 words for the Jets and why?
Who's catching passes in arguably one of the deepest wide receiver classes we've ever seen? You only draft 1 wide receiver. Jameson Crowder is not a true number 1. Rashad Perryman is not going to make that much of an impact on the offensive game. There's no reason why you only drafted Denzel Mims. And the other skills position you drafted was a LaMichael Perrine, who probably his ceiling in the NFL, in my opinion, is a return specialist. There's no legitimate offensive weapon on that team except for Le'Veon Bell, and we can't even count on him because at the rate he's going, he's falling into that LaShawn McCoy territory where he's slowly declining. Granted, he didn't have an offensive line, but he made absolutely 0 impact on that team last year with high expectations. So it all depends on how you put everything together. Who is going to catch the ball from Sam Darnold?
Cinquay, your 3 words for the Jets and why?
Darnold's full season. I need you to play 16. I need you to put together a whole complete season. Not this, I'm going to go crazy 5 games. I'm going to have a bad 2. Then I'm going to have a good 1.
Then I'm going to get mono for 4.
Mono for 4.
That's what I'm saying. Like that. And then I'm gonna go to the club, get mono. Like, cut that out. We need to cut that out. It's year 3. It's a very big year for you. If you want us to pick up your 5th-year option and you want to make some noise, New York is a very harsh crowd. The Jets fans have been bad since Mark Sanchez kissed them behind. Y'all have not been in a good spot in a while. Yes, they don't have a wide receiver core, but they're getting a lot of people back. They got Rashad Perriman, who's a violent deep threat, pretty much as a Robbie Anderson, just very cheaper. They got Denzel Mims, who I think was arguably a first-round talent last year. They get Quincy Enunwa back. Maybe he actually plays this time. We'll see. They also have Josh Dodson, who I kind of like Josh Dodson. I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be, even though at TCU he was literally catching anything that came to him. But I feel like he was just in a lot of bad situations and not really given the chance to show himself. So as a Jets franchise of not having any wide receivers, you literally have to give anybody a go. So I feel like if Josh Dodson wants to make live up to his first-round tag, I think that this would be the team for him to do it.
Mo, your 3 words for the Jets and why?
For me, the Jets were high ceiling draft. look, the first two picks, Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims. I mentioned earlier when you guys were talking, when we were prepping for the show, that Denzel Mims he's a very athletic receiver. He just hasn't put it all together. 4.38 speed, high vertical, 6'3". He has the ideal size and crazy athleticism. He just hasn't put it all together. Same thing with Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton is huge. He's got all the athleticism and all the physical tools, but he hasn't put it all together. I think like he didn't have that much production in Louisville because it was like their offense was very play action based, screen heavy kind of offense. So we really get to see now what happens when he comes up to the pros. I think they're really good picks. They just need time. It's a high ceiling, low floor kind of draft for me. So we'll see what happens.
All right, and last but not least, Almar, your 3 words on the Jets and why.
All right, so I had a hard time coming up with my 3 words for the Jets, and the 2 options I came up with were I don't know and so many variables, all meaning the same thing. I really don't know what to make of this New York Jets team. I don't know if there's a clear-cut number 1 receiver, as you guys alluded to earlier, and I don't know what I'm going to get out of Sam Darnold from week to week, let alone for a 16-game season. There's so many variables. He's very, very streaky. He's very Eli Manning in that regard. He's very streaky that I don't know what I'm going to get from your quarterback from week to week. And it's kind of infuriating if you're a Jets fan. You don't know what Sam Darnold shows up from week to week. So there's so many variables on this team, and that starts with the quarterback.
All right, that takes us to the AFC South. The first team we'll start with is the Jacksonville Jaguars. My 3 words are simple. I'm pretty sure some of you are going to have the same 3 words as me. Tank for Lawrence. It's simple. I honestly think they had a solid draft this year. You get C.J. Henderson, who's in top 10. He's a top 10 talent type of player. But it's simple. You need a quarterback. Gardner Minshew is not the answer to your problems. You paid Nick Foles all that money. You ended up trading him. You need a QB to turn around the fortunes of your franchise, and who better to do it than the most highly touted prospect since Andrew Luck. So
that in all honesty, that's Joe Burrow. Like it's not even a debate. He was the highly touted prospect ever is what I'd actually give to Trevor Lawrence. Can't deny that talent.
And that brings us to you. Your 3 words for the Jaguars and why.
I have starting a formation. They finally look like they know what they're doing as a franchise. Hopefully, this whole culture reset is going to work for them. They got rid of Coughlin, who I guess was a problem according to the players. They did get rid of a lot of players just to save some cap room. They are trying to get rid of Fournette. It will happen, probably not, just for the fact that they really don't have a good replacement for him. But let's just see how they build off this season. We're not expecting big things. Obviously, they're not going to be a winning team. Maybe 3-4 games under 500 is honestly their ceiling, in my opinion. But let's see how they build moving forward.
Cinquay, your 3 words to the Jaguars and why.
Fire Doug Marrone. Bro, he's garbage. Like, he's so bad. The fact that he still has a job is ridiculous. Their draft this year was pretty solid. I like how they got Caleb on Chase on at 20. They got C.J. Henderson, who to some people is arguably better than Jeff Okuda. As a zone cover corner, lethal. Lethal. As a zone cover corner, he's very lethal. As a man-to-man guy, he's kind of suspect. Because last year he played with an injury. Last year he played with an injury. The year before that, when he didn't play hurt, C.J. Henderson was locked down for Florida. So I feel like, to be honest, this is the year where everything makes perfect sense. You keep Doug Marrone this year. You fire him after this year. You're bringing a new coach. You're bringing a new quarterback. And then that's when you have a real-life culture reset.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Mohammed, your 3 words for the Jaguars and why.
I have it as run it back. I think they're rebuilding their defense. They added C.J. Henderson and Kilavon Kyson. I think those 2 picks were ideal for what they want to do. Like, you know how they had that really impressive defense about 3 years ago? Brought them to the
Jacksonville.
Brought them to the AFC Championship.
Lethal.
They need to rebuild that. Laviska Shenault, I loved him as a receiver. He looks like a running back playing wide receiver. And then another underrated pick they had was Ben Barteck. I did some reading on him. He's actually a really good pass blocker. So listen, they're set up. They might have to lose some games. Maybe they can win some games with Gardner, but I think they're set up to go draft their QB of the future if next year doesn't work out.
Almar, your 3 words for the Jaguars and why.
Return of Saxonville? I mean, all their they, for the most they sorry guys for the entirety of the draft, or at least most of it, they invested heavily on their defense. So that tells me that the direction moving forward is their defense, and that they're going to build from having a really strong defense and and just trying to stop teams from scoring. Because right now, I don't think Gardner Minshew is the answer. I think you guys agree with that. He's probably just another stopgap quarterback, and they're probably gonna have the number one pick next year and hopefully get Trevor Lawrence or whomever is the best quarterback at that time.
T-Law.
So
It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's any good
It's
about that.
T-Law. I like Fields, but T-Law's
Definitely.
Listen,
undeniable.
the only way Fields even comes close to being a number one overall pick is if this man literally has a perfect season where like he's going 75 with 0 picks and a 97 completion rate.
Like
Because
a Joe Burrow season, right?
so basically Joe Burrow's
better.
Nah, he
Better.
has that. He actually has that better.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you gotta have it better. Listen, Trevor Lawrence is
literally been talking about him since he was like 5.
since he was
a freshman.
his freshman year. His freshman year is one of the craziest freshman seasons ever for a quarterback.
Yo,
This man,
Trevor Lawrence is
took over
already.
Kelly
Yo, Trevor
Clark's
Lawrence
spot.
has literally been on draft board since like 2017, bro.
Literally, there's a reason why they're calling this man the best prospect to ever come out of college.
He's one
Like,
of those players where you try to change the rule. Oh, let him come out after his freshman year. Let him come out.
Exactly. He
Yo, no
Sophomore
cap.
year.
Yo,
comparing
dude
it.
was really like, yo, you know how many times people have been asking me, yo, is this the year Trevor comes out? Yo, did Trevor come out this year?
Listen,
Yo, is Trevor
this
coming out? Yo, like he's that type of player. Like
Trevor
yo,
Lawrence.
everybody wants him.
Trevor Lawrence is the basketball equivalent to Zion Williamson. Just for the fact that how just like he is the most fun player to watch. And that's not easy to say about a college quarterback when college football is literally stacked in every single aspect of the game. So
Yeah,
Trevor
dudes
Lawrence
literally
literally
scored like
being-
90 points a game.
exactly.
Nah.
Trevor Lawrence literally being so dynamic, he will throw for 400 yards and rush for 100. Like that's almost unheard of.
Yeah, what he did, what didn't he against Ohio State? He
Like,
ran
just
like
7-yard
some
touchdown run.
crazy.
It was on a third down play. I believe it was on a third down play. So it's like this man, his IQ is off the charts. His throwing ability is off the charts. Like that man, he's NFL ready. Let's just hope it pans out. Because again, we've seen highly talented prospects going into the NFL and not making any noise. So
Off called Jamarcus Russell.
Moving on to a
we're not gonna speak about that.
moving on to a division
Don't talk
rival of
about
theirs, the Houston Texans. My 3 words, it's a little bit of a stretch, but B.O.B., Bill O'Brien, equals S.O.S. I think they need help. I wasn't high on him as a head coach, but it's only a matter of time before a head coach starts winning divisions and making playoff appearances where you have to say, all right, maybe he's not as bad as we think he is, but he's just as bad as a GM. He woke up one morning and said, I want to trade DeAndre Hopkins to get a first-round pick. He didn't get a first-round pick for him. It makes no sense. I think Deshaun Watson should try to get out of there as fast as he could.
Go to New England.
That would be nightmarish for teams
Oh
in the
my
AFC.
god!
But
Oh god!
again, I think Bill O'Brien is how much longer is he there? I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of him. I'm sure a lot of people aren't. So B.O.B. equals S.O.S. David, your 3 words for the Jaguars and why?
So my 3 words for the Texans. My 3 words were literally your 3 words for the Jaguars. Mine are fire Bill O'Brien in literally every aspect of the organization. Fire him as a GM. Fire him as a head coach. The man is literally single-handedly ruining that franchise. He traded arguably, in some people's eyes, the best wide receiver in the game. Not even close. He's a top 3 wide receiver. For a washed-up David Johnson in the 2nd-round pick. So, and on top of that, the only way you got that deal done is by giving up a 4th-round pick for next year. So he does not have the true capabilities to not only run a franchise but keep a locker room somewhat satisfied. You've seen what Deshaun Watson said over Twitter once the trade happened. So, I believe today his option just got picked up, but is he really there for the long haul? He's going to be asking for a shit ton of money. That's the only way they're going to be able to keep him.
Yeah,
So-
and the way he handled that whole DeAndre Hopkins situation, that's a whole topic for a whole another day.
Horribly. And at the same time, I believe there was reports coming out saying that DeAndre Hopkins didn't really have a speaking relationship with Bill O'Brien.
Yeah,
So
if
the
you
fact
have a
that
speaking relationship with your head coach, that's
exactly easily at this point you could consider him a face of the franchise or one of the three faces of your franchise, and you don't even have a speaking relationship with him. Considering the fact that he's one of the most dynamic players in the league, that's unfortunate. You got to change that some way somehow. So fire Bill O'Brien are my 3 words.
Cinquay, your 3 words and why?
They are screwed. Everything's falling apart. They don't have a 1 next year. They don't have a 2 next year. Because guess where they are? In Miami. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, they literally paid Larry Tunsil ridiculous money.
He's making what, $60 million over 3 years, or something atrocious
No,
like that?
it's like 4 for like
66.
I think it's
Is it 66 for 3?
It's something crazy.
it might be 4 for 88. I know it's 22 per year, and like I think it's like no, yeah, it might be 3 of 66, and 57 million guaranteed. Like, yo, I understand Tunsil is very, very, very elite. Like he's an elite left tackle in this game. I know he played for my team. He gave up no sacks the last year that he played for us. But at first, getting rid of Larry Tunsil, I thought was bad. Now looking back on it, we literally sent them to draft hell. They're literally in cap hell. They're literally in all around hell. Like they're in team hell, personnel hell, cap hell, draft hell. You can't draft anything. In the 3rd round, I'm sorry to tell you, the chances of you drafting a 3rd rounder that's gonna play like a 1st rounder is kind of
slim. Yeah, slim to none.
I'm sorry. You still have a lot of – yes, you have Laramie Tunsil. Now, Titus Howard, even though it was a very, criticized pick, I feel like he actually played really good. So, it shows that your O-line is coming around, but you still have no cornerbacks whatsoever. Who's your starting cornerback? Lonnie Johnson Jr., Vernon Hargraves III, and Bradley Roby, who are not good, pretty much a bust, and hasn't been good since Super Bowl 50. So – you got rid of Tayshaun Gibson. Your defense is literally slowly diminishing. You're probably going to trade J.J. Watt for like a 9th round pick, a pack of bubble gum, and a can of peanut butter. Like, I don't know what they're doing over there. But to be honest, all Houston fans, you're screwed. Like, sorry to tell you.
Yeah, Houston, we have a problem indeed. Mo, your 3 words for the Texans and why?
The Texans, Bill O'Brien grade. I saw this on Walter Football, and I thought it was really funny. Anytime someone got an F, it was called a Bill O'Brien. That's what I'm going to give the Texans. They had one of the worst offseason decisions I've ever seen in my life. They traded away a top 3 receiver and didn't get a 1st-round pick back. And they also had DeAndre Hopkins on contract for the next 3 years. They drafted Ross Blacklock. I thought he was a good pick, someone who could take DJ Reader's spot. But other than that, I wasn't really impressed with their draft, and their offseason as a whole was terrible.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone else would disagree with that.
And then didn't they trade the 2nd round pick they got for Brandon Cooks anyway? So, like,
Yeah.
y'all still – yeah, I don't get it.
Almar,
I totally forgot they got Brandon Cooks, to be honest with you. That's
Does it
still not
really
going to make a
matter?
difference to that
Yeah,
team.
yeah,
Right.
It did not make a difference.
Let's not forget they signed Randall Cobb for like 4 years, $75,000
Oh, my
For a
God.
slot.
$75 million.
Something ridiculous like that. Yeah.
Almar, your 3 words for the Texans and why?
I'm going to keep it short and sweet, guys. Poor Deshaun Watson. The sky is falling in Houston. He woke up one day. He had a number 1 receiver with 3 years left on his contract. Later that day, he is up and he doesn't have his number 1 receiver, and now he's throwing to Brandon Cooks, who is good for 6 to 8 games before he gets hurt.
Nah, Brandon Cooks though he's always a solid 1,000-yard receiver. That's the one thing that I'll give to him.
He's one concussion away.
Yeah,
One
exactly. I was about to say he's
concussion
also a solid 1 concussion this season.
Pushing away from not, yeah, and be over the hill David Johnson. That's who he has to work with after waking up one day and he had a top 3 receiver.
Well,
Deshaun
guess
Watson.
I'm handing the ball off 500 times this season.
Poor Deshaun Watson.
Poor Deshaun Watson does not deserve this.
He did not. No, what did Deshaun Watson do to deserve this? What did he do?
Get drafted to Houston.
Coached by Bill O'Brien.
Oh, jeez.
That brings us to our last team in the AFC South. We're only doing the AFC today, so we have the Colts and the AFC West left. The Colts, simple, Chris Ballard, and I put the GOAT emoji next to it. It's a travesty he wasn't there when Andrew Luck first got drafted, because if he was there, who knows, maybe he could have saved Andrew Luck's career. I had them as a perennial Super Bowl contender last year before Andrew Luck retired. because I just feel like, with the way that Chris Ballard just sets up the team is amazing. Even this year, you got a sleeper in the draft in Michael Pittman, my favorite running back in Jonathan Taylor. You set up not only for your future, but for this year as well. You have Phillip Rivers on a 1-year deal. You drafted Jacob Eason to sit behind him. Again, he's a project, but we'll see how he pans out. But the Colts are one of the best run organizations in football. And, Chris Ballard is easily one of the top 3 GMs in football. David, your 3 words for the Colts and why?
Slept on favorites. Easily in that division, the only real threat to the Colts would probably be the Titans. I don't see the Texans making any sort of noise this year. Jacksonville, like I said earlier, is a rebuilding franchise. Colts, like you said, just made very good strides. Traded for DeForest Buckner. Excuse me. Drafted Michael Pittman Jr., who's a stud. Jonathan Taylor, who in my opinion was the best running back in the class. So everything is starting to fit together. They also showed up they got their this year replacement in Isaiah Rodgers from Massachusetts, who is not a bad quarterback. So it all depends how they really build the team around Phillip Rivers this year and what they can look forward to in the future. So you already got maybe a top 3, top 2, top 1 offensive lineman in Quentin Nelson. So you got the protection set. You got the protection for Jonathan Taylor set. All he has to do is just sure up that he's not gonna fumble every 10 to 12 carries, and let's just see how it works out. So it's looking good in Indianapolis.
Cinquay, your 3 words for the Colts and why?
Phillip the teacher. Phillip Rivers got to be a teacher this year. You got to teach Jacob Eason the ropes. I heard that he's pretty good, but he's a project. He's raw. So to be honest, Phillip Rivers has literally seen it all. He's seen a way to be the number 1 offense in the league, the number 1 defense in the league, and be number 32 in special teams and still miss the playoffs. So that's a fun experience. He can share that with Eason. He's literally played an AFC title game with an ACL that looks like I don't even know
silly
what it
putty.
looks like, but yeah, his ACL was literally gone. He's a very seasoned veteran. Even though he's never won, he's had a lot of opportunities to win. He can share an insight on maybe an opinion to win. And if Jacob Eason becomes half of the player Phillip Rivers became,
they're in good hands.
For a 4th round pick, they're in good hands.
That's great hands.
Yeah. All right, Mo, your 3 words on the Colts and why?
For the Colts, this was the best draft, in my opinion, out of all the teams. I really love the value they got out of their first 4 picks. Michael Pittman Jr. had a first-round grade on him. I don't know if you guys knew. He had a 2.8% drop rate. Only 2% of his passes he dropped. Then Jonathan Taylor, a great pickup in the 2nd round. And then Julian Blackmon, very underrated safety. And then I think Jacob Eason in the 4th round was probably the ideal spot for him. He's still a very developmental quarterback. He's a rhythm passer. So I think in this Colts offense with Frank Reich, it's the ideal fit. So for this was the best draft for me.
All right, Almar, your 3 words for the Colts and why?
Very solid moves. I don't think they had one misstep in free agency, in the draft. I love the Jonathan Taylor pick. I saw him light up college football, and specifically the Big Ten, for years. And
what do you have, 6,000 in his career?
Over 6,000 yards rushing. I think he started every year he was in college. He was a highlight machine. Every week his tape is ridiculous. To me, he was the best running back in the draft.
Yeah, and he's that type of running back, in my opinion. From looking at him, he has a lot of Saquon Barkley in him. His explosiveness, just the way he moves.
He's very similar size to Saquon Barkley. He's not as explosive in terms of top end speed, and he's not quite as shifty, but he's very Saquon Barkley, like you said. And
Definitely.
you can give it to him 20 plus times, it would not bother him one bit. So I feel like
you still got Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines to fall on. So he's in a low pressure situation, even though he's on a playoff contender team.
Definitely. Speaking of the AFC South, we forgot one team. We're gonna get to them right now. The Tennessee Titans. My 3 words for them are simple: pressure is on. You pay Tannehill a boatload of money. You franchise tag Derrick Henry, but I think Mike Vrabel is a sensational head coach. You have A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill building a little bit of chemistry. You still have Derrick Henry. Your defense is solid. I think your division is weak. A couple weeks ago, I had them winning the division easily, but after the Colts draft, I think it's a bit more neck and neck. But now you're not just the Titans anymore with Marcus Mariota, and teams are coming to town and not really looking at you as a threat. Now you actually have a little bit of a passing game. Derrick Henry dominated since the end of last year. He took that step up. So the pressure's on for the Tennessee Titans because I think right now they're the favorite to win the division. David, your 3 words for the Titans and why?
Repeat last season. You hit it right on the head. You paid Tannehill the money you should have paid Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I think they should have flip-flopped it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not trying to knock on Tannehill at all. At the same time, he's a good quarterback. I'm not gonna say he's a bad quarterback because he's not. He's a good quarterback, but he's not worth the value that they gave him. I would have given them money to literally the guy who single-handedly put the team on their back in the playoffs, franchise tagged Tannehill, and let him play for a contract next season. So their draft was decent. I'm not gonna say anything bad about the draft. Their highlighted pick was Isaiah Wilson. Does give them some shored up protection on the line. They also drafted Christian Fulton in the second round, who LSU cornerback, who fell decently hard in my opinion, only because of the national championship game. We saw what T. Higgins did to him. Kind of did kill his draft stock a little bit, but they do have a decent formation to build off of. So you got his name is escaping me right now. Their number one corner.
Who?
Oh my goodness.
It's Malcolm Butler.
No, the number one corner in Tennessee. Oh my
It's
goodness.
Malcolm Butler.
Is it still Malcolm Butler?
It is. Logan Ryan's gone, guys.
Logan
Ryan's
Oh,
gone.
he is gone. So Christian Fulton might step into that number one role. Malcolm Butler did not play well
Bro,
at all last
they
season.
started benching Butler last season. I
Exactly.
feel like they don't like him, yo. They don't.
They got to build. So Christian Fulton has a lot of shoes to fill in right now.
I mean, the thing is, Christian Fulton has the luxury of having Kevin Byard and Kenny Vaccaro over the top. So I feel like that'll help him in his development. And then they still have Adoree Jackson.
Any of those corners.
That's who I was
that
referring to, Adoree Jackson.
Adoree's still raw to me.
He is. At the same time, he does make a lot of good highlight plays. He does come up big in crunch time. So it all depends on how he develops in, what is it now, year 5 for him? Year 6?
I think 4. Nah, not 6. It's definitely, I think it might be like
It's 4 or 5.
4.
I'm not
Is it?
Yeah, it's
sure.
either 4 or 5.
So
I'll take a look. Hold on.
let's just see how that secondary shapes up. So
All right,
Secondary should be valid.
Cinquay, your 3 words for the Titans and why?
Keep it going. Pretty much. Y'all were a game away from a Super Bowl. Y'all was never supposed to be there. Y'all went 9-7 the last 3 years. I feel like y'all need to step that up. You got to see even a 10-6 look better than 9-7 4 consecutive years. Tannehill's a pretty accurate passer. He passed over 74.3% of his passes he was hitting last year. AJ Brown literally was averaging 19 yards a catch, 20 yards a catch, something ridiculous like that. He was having an amazing rookie year. He hit over a band last year, and that's the highlight as a receiver. You want Corey Davis to break out this year. That's really what you're missing from this team. Jonnu Smith popped out really crazy. Your O-line was pretty solid last year, and yeah, that's just how I feel about Titans.
All right, Mo, your 3 words for the Dolphins. Your 3 words for the Titans and why?
For me, it's let's see. Based on their draft, I think Isaiah Wilson was a huge reach. Not really a tackle that a lot of people saw on their boards. He's athletic, someone they could build, coach him up. But I think he'll thrive more as a guard than as a tackle. Christian Fulton was a great pick, but the rest of their draft was kind of questionable to me. We'll see what happens, but I think they're set to at least. I'd still call them the favorites for that division.
All right, Almar, your 3 words on the Titans and why?
Hope this works. You give Ryan Tannehill all this money. You better hope this pans out. What is it? 94 guaranteed?
Not guaranteed, something like that. Yeah.
That's a lot of guaranteed money for. I think he's basically a middle of the road quarterback. I mean, I know he has good traits that fit that team perfectly. But to me, he's an average quarterback, and you gave him $90 million. I think you better hope this works.
All right, and quickly moving into our last division of the day, the AFC West. We'll start with the Super Bowl champions, Chiefs. My 3 words, everyone go Mahomes. Everybody in the division, you're not catching the Chiefs at all. The Chiefs are by far the best team in that division. You drafted a running back to give Mahomes another weapon. Again, you have an elite play caller in Andy Reid. So I think it's not a doubt who the winner of the AFC West is going to be this year again, the Chiefs. David, your 3 words for the Chiefs and why?
Great system picks. Nobody saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire going in the first round. At the same time, if you look at that Colts system, he fits it perfectly. He's a very good pass catching running back. He's very Tyreek Cohen-esque. So it'll work well for the future. They also drafted Willie Gay Jr. Willie Gay Jr. is a very slept on linebacker. He's very raw. Give him a couple years and he'll develop a solid player. So let's just see how that system works in year 2 of trying to chase another title. So yeah.
All right, Cinquay, your 3 words for the defending Super Bowl champs, the Chiefs, and why?
Back to back. They gotta go back to back. You gotta pay Mahomes. It's gonna be really hard to build a team after that. So you gotta win right now. Let's just do it again.
That's perfect. And again, we talked about earlier how a lot of the prior Super Bowl winning QBs were on a cheaper deal. So if there's a time to win another championship for the Chiefs, it's now. Mo, your 3 words for them and why?
Favors for 2020. Listen, they brought back 20 of 22 starters. They added Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Willie Gay Jr., and then Lucas Niang. I think they add 3 value players that will make an instant impact. So I think they will definitely be the favorites for next year. Again, we never know in football. Things change on the fly. But they are definitely the favorites for the Super Bowl.
All right. And Almar, your 3 words for them and why?
It's free real estate. The AFC West, there's no point in trying to win that division. I mean, their offense got a lot better. They now have a legitimate running game to worry about, which only opens up their passing attack even more, which did not need any more help than what it is right now. And there's no point in trying to win the AFC West. The Chiefs have it on lock.
Yeah, easily. That brings us to our next team, the Las Vegas Raiders. And my 3 words for them is Carr's last season, maybe. Again, you paid him a lot of money. He did get injured, we know, with his whole situation that year, and he hasn't been the same since. So I thought personally they were going to draft maybe Jordan Love this year and have him sit behind Derek Carr. Again, I know that was maybe a reach at the position they were in. But again, they overdrafted, I think, once again this year. Derek Carr has become a game manager in a lot of ways. So maybe this is Carr's last season, but the amount of money they pay him is a lot. So we'll see about that. David, your 3 words for the Raiders and why?
New Clemson Tigers. They went again, drafted 2 more Clemson Tigers and Tanner Muse and John Simpson. John Simpson was also a very good pick, by the way. But I believe last year they went, 4 Clemson Tigers. Year before that, they went like another 2 or 3. So it's clear that that entire Raiders organization just loves what Dabo Swinney's doing in Clemson. And if Gruden doesn't work out and Sweeney's looking at an NFL job, don't be surprised. Also, I do have another one for them. Reach pick Central. They did reach with Damon Arnett. Lynn Bowden Jr., I had him as a 4th round kind of pick. They drafted him in 3rd. So, although the fact he's more of a kind of dynamic player, he could literally do it all. He's a great Wildcat quarterback, but it all depends on how it works out in the future. Henry Ruggs is good for where they got him. Obviously, they needed a wide receiver. Williams isn't going to be able to be a capable number 1. So let's just see how Carr can basically work with that offense. You got a great second-year player coming into it in Josh Jacobs. You finally got a true number 1 with Henry Ruggs if you grew him to be a number 1. So let's just see how it works out.
Cinquay, your 3 words for the Raiders and why?
Why Mike Mayock? Like, your picks were so questionable. Damon Arnett was wild, like out of the box. Like, there was a lot of players. I would rather you take Christian Fulton there. I would have rather you take
Diggs.
Exactly, Trevon. Like, there was a lot of people I personally think that they could have took over
Xavier
Damon
McKinney
Arnett.
was still on the board by then.
Yeah, and they need a safety because right now their starting safety is literally Jeff Heath.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't
we
they
already know how
Jonathan Abram?
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Abrams at on free. So McKinney would have played strong, and they'd have been solid because they let go of Carl Joseph. Yeah, his picks were really questionable. Lynn Bowden, I wanted Lynn Bowden, but not in the 3rd round. I had him as a 4th, 5th type of guy. He was drafted at 80 overall. They drafted Henry Ruggs at 12. I mean, like, I don't really think that's a good pick. Cause I mean, I would have if I was them, I would have went with Jerry Judy. To be honest, that's just me. But I feel like Henry Ruggs was like the clear cut wide receiver 3 in that class, and it was Lamb and Jerry Judy that was bang bang right there together. Instead, they let Jerry Judy go to a team that we will speak about in a little bit in the Broncos, and he let CeeDee Lamb go to the Cowboys, which are better fits for them both, so they could thank them. But I feel like they just didn't do good like at all.
Yeah, and especially I think with the wide receivers, Judy and Lamb are much more complete receivers than a Ruggs. And again, I think Ruggs in the perfect system is going to be great because he's a vertical threat. But I think with a team like them, you need a little bit of a more balanced approach. Next, we have Mo. Mo, your 3 words for them and why?
Offense will explode. I think the Henry Ruggs pick, I didn't think he was the best receiver in the draft. That was Jerry Judy for me, and I thought that's where Jerry Judy would go to the Raiders. But listen, Henry Ruggs is a fast receiver. He's going to demand a safety over the top at almost all times. They also drafted Brian Edwards, I liked in the 3rd round. Good value on him. And Lynn Bowden should be a solid backup for Josh Jacobs. I think this will be the year for Derek Carr especially. Make it or break it because this offense is explosive.
All right, Almar, your 3 words for the Raiders and why?
Josh Jacobs breakout. I think he might be the leading rusher in the entire league next season, especially with a burner like Henry Ruggs taking the top off defenses. And Carr, I believe he can still throw a really good ball. So he can throw.
He threw like 70% last year.
Yeah, he can throw a really good deep ball. So I don't think so. Him taking the top off defenses with Henry Ruggs will open up boxes for Josh Jacobs to just plow through massive gaping holes. Because I think their line is solid, and now they have a receiver that stretches defenses. I expect him to break out and for at least 1,500 yards.
Wow.
Interesting. All right, and with that being said, we are on our last team, the Denver Broncos. My 3 words for them: mile high offense. I think for the past few years they've been known for their defense, and their offense hasn't been their strong suit. But now you have 3 running backs that can play in Phillip Lindsay, Freeman, and Melvin Gordon. You have Jerry Judy, you have Cortland Sutton, you have Noah Fant. Drew Lock is here, franchise QB, yes or no? We'll find out. But now he does have the offense around him. Again, I like Vic Fangio. He's defensive head coach. Defense is his strong suit. So, again, I don't think they might be a sleeper for the playoffs this year. I don't know. But they'll definitely be fun to watch. David, your 3 words for the Broncos and why?
I have value pick central for them. Jerry Judy was probably the guy that they needed to change that offense in the passing aspect. I feel like they did reach and kind of go unnecessary with the KJ Hamler pick. But as far as every other pick, Cushenberry, I believe they got in the 3rd or 4th round. Albert Okwunubum, you're going to run that crazy tight end set with him and Noah Fant, 2 really fast, dynamic, strong tight ends. That's going to be fun to watch. Tyree Cleveland's another pretty good wide receiver that they drafted in the late rounds. I feel like they fixed their all-season big time with this draft. I wasn't high on the Melvin Gordon signing for that team. It was very unnecessary, but this draft definitely changed my mind how they fixed their team. So I give them, honestly, their original grade for me in the offseason was a C. I'm giving them a B+ just based off this draft alone.
All right, Cinquay, your 3 words for the Broncos and why?
Drew's new weapons. Boy, oh boy, did they get him some stuff. Drew Lock left 2020 with Cortland Sutton and Phillip Lindsay as and Noah Fant as your primary weapons. Then they doubled that. They got Albert Okwuegbunam, who guess what?
There you go.
Went to college together. They went to college together. They have chemistry already. And now imagine running a 2 tight end set with Noah Fant and Okwuegbunam. Oh man. Like that's gonna be a linebacker nightmare for the Chargers, for the Raiders, for the Chiefs. Like that's gonna be a matchup nightmare. Because once we got Fant, and then boom, now you got Okwuegbunam also. Then you get Jerry Judy. To me, wide receiver 1. Jerry Judy is disgusting, filthy. Any word that you want to think of, that's him. That means good. That's him. He's elite. Like I love Jerry Judy. I think he's such a great player. You know the type of noise he was getting coming to the NFL. And yeah, he dropped because of the little knee injury. But I feel like that's one of those things that people are gonna look back on and be like, yo, we should have took that chance on Jerry. Cortland Sutton, even though I hate him for stealing Devontae Parker's Pro Bowl berth last year, he's still a good player. And I was high on him when he came out of SMU. I read up on him a little bit and watched his tape, and I was like, yo, this kid's actually pretty solid. He was a second-round pick, and he came out to show that he could be a number one receiver in the league. But now you kind of have a 1A, 1B type, and then you got KJ Hamler. I don't really know anything about KJ Hamler like that, but hopefully he turns out to be good. Yeah, Philip Lindsay was a pretty good 3-down back. Like, he could play all 3 downs. And then you also have Melvin Gordon. So, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see if they have maybe an 1,000-yard receiver and 2 1,000-yard rushers.
Yeah, they have a lot of talent on that offense. Mo, your 3 words for the Denver Broncos and why?
Lock it up. I think this was an amazing draft. They really got some key picks in it. Jerry Jeudy for me was the best wide receiver in this class, hands down.
Nice pun.
Oh, thanks,
Very,
man.
very. That was really good.
Thanks. But yeah, for me, Jerry Jeudy was the best receiver in the draft. I think route running is the one skill that translates no matter to any level. So I think with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and they also went and got Lloyd Cushenberry, a center, who's I think will be a stud for them. I think they had a really good draft, and I think their offense will look to explode depending on how Locke plays.
That Cushenberry pick is pretty solid for the fact that they lost Paradis last year.
Exactly. Right.
All right. And lastly for the day, our last analysis of the day.
Well, no, we still got to do the Chargers.
Oh, yeah, Chargers. I just totally
I know their fan base forgot them. Let's not forget them also.
All right. So not last but least. Almar, your 3 words for the Broncos and why?
A new beginning. For much of the same reasons that you guys mentioned, I mean, Drew Lock has weapons to throw to now, and Cortland Sutton will be a really good number 2, and Jerry Jeudy is going to stand out as a breakout number 1. I mean, there's no questions about the running game. They have 3 starting caliber running backs, which seems like a lot, almost to a point of excess, but at least they have a very capable running attack, and their defense, because of their head coach, is going to be really pretty good. So a new beginning for Denver.
All right, and now lastly, I was gonna say San Diego Chargers. I always mess that up.
I messed that up too. Don't worry.
Yeah, the LA Chargers, who my 3 words for them, a quarterback away, and maybe they got that quarterback in Justin Herbert. Cinquay knows how high I was on Justin Herbert coming out, but I know his problems,
He's
the
very erratic.
red flags that he
He's
has.
so erratic.
Yeah, and Almar mentioned this in our group chat one day. Oregon runs a lot of screen passes. I think over a certain
23% of his pass attempts are screens.
Yeah.
Oh,
So again,
at least he has Austin Eckler to run
I
those.
actually mentioned that from the Brett Coleman video. It was actually a really crazy fact.
Yeah, I saw it. It was from
Right.
that video. It was
Yeah,
from that video.
So the fact that obviously I think he's raw right now too. But the fact that he can sit behind Tyrod Taylor for a year, who is he's a winner. He won in Buffalo. He took him to the playoffs. He's a professional. He knows he's not the franchise, and it'll be a perfect year for Justin Herbert. Maybe he starts this year midway through the season. I don't know. It depends, but their roster is loaded. They have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry. You have Austin Eckler, who broke out last season. Your defense, you have Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa. You drafted Kenneth Murray, who I think was the best linebacker in the draft. It was between him and Patrick Queen. And then on top of that, you still have Derwin James, who wasn't healthy last year, who's coming back. Chargers can make some noise, but I do think it's going to take them a year or 2 to get acclimated with Justin Herbert to really be, a top team. David, your 3 words on the LA Chargers and why?
Post Rivers success. Let's see how they can basically build off of last year. Yeah, they had a crap ton of injuries last year. It definitely affected their playoff push, if there even was one for them. But they did make a lot of good value picks. They did go back in the first round, get Kenneth Murray, Justin Herbert. Obviously, I feel like it was a given. Once Tua was off the board, I didn't feel like they were going to go anywhere else. I didn't feel like they were going to go offensive tackle or anything like that. Their 2 slept-on pick that they made. Joshua Kelly, UCLA, he was a very, very, very dynamic and slept-on running back. He was very good in running through the trenches. He's very good outside the numbers as well, if you need to use him as a passing running back. And KJ Hill, who I was surprised he fell to the 7th round.
Seventh
I
round.
was praying that the Giants would just take a fly on him just because his hands are great. Dude has webs for hands. I'm surprised that I won't be surprised if he turns out to take Williams' spot next year. So the fact that they got KJ Hill in the 7th round just sums up how solid and how crazy deep this entire draft was. There's not that many misses through any team. Not a lot of teams had a bad draft. But it's just the fact that a talent like KJ Hill, who before college football season started, was getting 2nd, 3rd round buzz. Some people had him in the 1st round of their draft boards. So they had a very good draft.
All right, Cinquay, your 3 words for the Chargers and why?
New. Everything's new. New stadium, new uniforms, new logo, new quarterback, new everything. It's time to get rid of the old San Diego Chargers. That was not a successful thing. That's not a winning culture. We got to get rid of all that. Throw it under the rug. Get rid of it. It's new. The Los Angeles Chargers, the little bolt, that's them now. We here. We got a new stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. We got a new stadium. We have new uniforms. Powder Blues are hitting this year. Everything is new. If you want to get into a real life culture change, they literally did it. They erased San Diego from like Qualcomm Stadium. It's gone. San Diego has gone. All that's gone. Everything's new, and you brought in a new quarterback, new everything. Everything besides the coach is damn near new. You got new players on defense. You got new players on offense. You have new uniforms. You have new stadium. You have new everything. So to be honest, this is to get rid of the losing mantra and ring to your name. You got to get rid of that. And now I feel like they had a pretty good start to doing so.
Yeah, out with the old and in with the new. Mo, your 3 words for the Chargers and why?
For me, it's go get Cam. Listen, they have so much talent on this roster. I like what they did with their 6th pick. Listen, I'm sure they wanted to take Tua, but they took the next best thing for them available at the time. That was Justin Herbert. Sit him for a year and a half. He has a lot to learn. He's still very erratic in terms of decision making. So I think he needs some time to develop. I did like David mentioned, KJ Hill. I think he might have been the steal of the draft at the 7th round. He was very, very underrated. Has a great route runner. A lot of people call him a technician because of his release.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a great pick too. But they have too much talent on that team to tank for a year or develop for a year. There's just too much on there. I think they should go get Cam Newton. Don't try to waste a year with Tyrod Taylor. Cam is more proven. Go get Cam Newton and go out and try to make the playoffs.
Yeah, a lot of QBs are still on the market that you can go out and get. Lastly, our last 3 words of the day. Almar, your 3 words for the Chargers and why?
Timelines don't match. You have to develop a new starting quarterback of the future in Justin Herbert, who's a year or 2 away, but the rest of your roster is basically in championship win now mode. I mean, they signed Chris Harris, Linval Joseph. Let me go through their free agent signings. Chris Harris, Brian Bulaga, Darius Jennings, Linval Joseph, Trey Turner, and Nick Vigil. That doesn't sound like they're trying to tank for a year, trying to like develop a young quarterback. Like they're gonna be like a 9-10 win team just from the rest of like their talent alone, but you have to wait on their quarterback of the future. So I don't know how good they're gonna be in 2 years. The timelines just don't match to me.
Yeah, the AFC is solid, but not as solid as the NFC, who we will get to next week. This concludes our 3-word game for the AFC. Mo, I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to go off on the Packers. We'll get to that next week for sure.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
All right.
You get another week to let it marinate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh no, that's
Who knows? Maybe they might go out and sign Cam. Who knows with them?
Oh my goodness.
Yo, if they sign Cam, I might pass out, yo.
they signed Cam Newton.
No, we're gonna go get Antonio Brown. That's what I've come to conclude.
I would like that, honestly.
I would
If y'all sign Antonio Brown, then I don't think you could be mad anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think you should. Oh man.
All right. With that being said, I've been Hasham Kahlon. David, do your little outro.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. We will have articles coming soon. I know I said this last week, but there was not much to write about. Definitely, we have a lot to write about now. So just be prepared to be reading a whole lot. We love the support that we've been getting. Thank you for the kind words that we've been getting. It's been fun. And see you guys next week. Peace out.
Cinquay, last words.
We accept all constructive criticism. Always trying to get better. Always trying to get better at our craft. So
100%.
if you watch, leave a comment, let us know. I think we should upload this on YouTube, to be honest. I feel like that'll be an easier platform than Podbean, but we can do it all. Of course, we can do it all.
Wherever we could.
Yeah, of course. Nah, but I think like YouTube might be the next step for us.
All right, Mo. Any last words from you?
Yeah, just want to say thank you to everybody listening. And like Quay said, constructive criticism, that means a lot to us. I think there's a lot we could do to get better, and we'll continue to improve. And, I'm glad people are tuning in to listen to us.
Yeah, Almar.
We're open for conversation. I mean, like you guys said, we're open to criticism and we're open to a conversation. If anything that we're talking about, you guys want to talk about, whatever you, please let us know. And also, thank you guys for listening and, just supporting us. And hopefully this grows even bigger and better the next time we meet.
Yeah, and again, thank you guys very much for listening. Our following, we know, is not the biggest. We're just a bunch of friends talking sports, having fun, and just trying to get content out there, get our name out there. So again, thank you, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
All right, guys, take care.